Abandoned among the mud and the hissing of snakes, she closed her eyes awaiting death, until firm footsteps broke the silence and a warm cloak enveloped her. Subscribe to the channel and follow how from rejection can be born a new life guided by strength and belonging. The Pantanal exhaled odors of life and death intertwined, a constant cycle that few understood. It was in this mysterious place, between murky waters and endless sky, that Antonio and João dragged their sister, Iracema. The 30-year-old woman could barely remain conscious, fever consuming her strength, while cruel words still echoed in her mind. "A woman who cannot bear children is like dry land, good for nothing," Antonio said, before throwing her onto a heap of reeds, far from the site of the small village of Porto Esperança. The community did not accept a half-woman, as they called her. 3 dissolved marriages, no children, the family's shame. Iracema tried to scream when her brothers walked away, but her voice came out only as a weak moan. The fever that had begun days before now consumed her completely. Red spots spread across her body, a disease that no one wanted to treat. Anacondas slid nearby. Caimans watched from a distance. She, abandoned among the dense vegetation, expected nothing more than death, until a shadow appeared against the setting sun. He was a tall man, broad shoulders but bent by some ancient pain, dressed in simple clothes and wearing a necklace of caiman teeth. Kawa was returning from a solitary fishing trip, a moment when he confronted his own ghosts after losing his entire family in a flood years ago. When he saw Iracema, he stopped. He said no word. He merely bent down, touched her forehead with the back of his calloused hand, and wrapped her with the clean fishing net he carried. The gesture was not one of pity. It was of recognition. He carried her in his strong arms to his small stilt house, hidden among water lilies and morning mist, where Dona Jurema, the most respected healer in that stretch of the Pantanal, was already waiting. It was as if she knew. The white-haired, wrinkled-handed elder received Iracema without questions. She looked at Kawa and shook her head. 3 days before the full moon. That's the time we have. Then began the baths with Pantanal herbs, the bitter root teas, the prayers whispered as the sun set. In the first moments, Iracema just breathed with difficulty, her body still marked by fever and her soul wounded by abandonment. That's when a weak meow caught her attention. Next to the wood stove, a small basket held a jaguar cub, eyes barely open, fur still with undefined spots. "The mother was killed by hunters," explained Dona Jurema, noticing Iracema's gaze. "Kawa found it the same day he brought you." Iracema extended a trembling hand and the cub sniffed it, recognizing something familiar in abandonment. That night, while Dona Jurema prepared another herbal poultice, Kawa sat near the hammock where Iracema was resting. "Here no one asks what you cannot give," he said, his voice deep and measured. "Only what you can offer." And he went out into the Pantanal night, leaving those words echoing. The next day, the fever still persisted. Dona Jurema explained, "It's a fever that comes from the wounded soul, not just the body." And she continued with the treatments, now including baths with medicinal clay from the Pantanal. The jaguar cub wouldn't leave her side, as if recognizing in her a companion in abandonment. When night came, Iracema had a delirium, calling for her brothers, begging them not to leave her. Kawas held her firmly but gently, as her body trembled. "You are safe now," he repeated, like a mantra. The Pantanal embraces those who have been rejected. On the 3rd day, something changed. Iracema's breathing became more regular. The red spots began to disappear, and for the first time, she was able to sit up by herself, observing the small stilt house with curiosity. She saw herbs drying hanging from the ceiling, protection amulets made of bones and seeds, baskets woven with local fibers. She saw the jaguar cub playing with a piece of rope, and she saw Kawa returning from fishing, carrying a large golden dorado fish. Their eyes met, and there was something firm there. "You are still here." That afternoon, Dona Jurema offered her a strong broth. "Drink it all. The full moon comes tomorrow and we need your strength to return." Iracema obeyed, and for the first time she asked, "Why did you help me?" The elder smiled, showing partially toothless gums. "Ask him," she said, pointing to Kawa, who was silently cleaning the fish. "But ask when you're ready to hear the answer." At night, as the starlight reflected on the waters of the Pantanal, creating a mirrored sky that confused the senses. Irasima felt something awakening within her. It wasn't just health returning. It was a spark of curiosity about what might come next, about who she could be now that her old life had expelled her. The jaguar cub slept curled at her feet, a small guardian of a new beginning that was announcing itself. And as sleep took her, this time without fever or nightmares, Irasima realized that the swamp that should have been her end could, in fact, be her beginning. As the days passed, Irasima recovered not only her health, but also something she had lost a long time ago, the ability to look to the horizon without fear. Mornings in the stilt house began early, with the song of jabiru storks and the smell of strong coffee that Donna Jurema prepared. "Today you will learn to recognize the herbs that saved your life," said the elder on a particularly clear morning. And so the learning began. Irasima, who in the city was seen only as the woman who could not bear children, discovered that her hands had a talent for identifying medicinal plants just by touch. "You have the gift," murmured Donna Jurema, observing how she precisely separated guaco leaves from those of the Mailhomen's vine, both similar to untrained eyes. The jaguar cub, now answering to the name Pinda, grew strong and followed Irasima everywhere, like a spotted shadow. The first time she smiled was when Pinda tried to hunt a frog and ended up falling clumsily into the shallow water. Kawa, who was watching from the door, also smiled. He was a man of few words, but Irasima began to understand his language. An especially large fish left for her meant approval. A newly woven basket appearing next to her hammock was an invitation to collect her own herbs. One night, as the three of them were dining on piranha soup with cassava, Irasima asked again, "Why did you save me, Kawa?" He chewed slowly, looked at Donna Jurema as if seeking permission, and then answered, "Because I know what it's like to be judged by what you cannot give, instead of what you can offer." He said nothing more that night, but something profound was shared. The next morning, Donna Jurema announced, "Today you will learn to sing the healing prayers." And so, between herbs and chants, Irasima was discovering a new identity. Her hands, once idle in the city, now knew the pleasure of preparing a poultice that relieved pain, of weaving fibers into functional baskets, of caressing Pinda's fur, who was now reaching the size of a large dog. Kawa took her to see other parts of the Pantanal, the streams where the water ran crystal clear, the centennial trees where blue macaws made nests, the flooded fields where capybaras grazed peacefully. On one of these walks, they found a huge anaconda crossing their path. Irasima froze in fear, but Kawa simply stood still, breathing calmly until the animal went on its way. "Fear only attracts danger," he explained. "Respect keeps a safe distance." Lessons like this accumulated. At night, Donna Jurema taught Irasima to read the stars, to predict climate changes by animal behavior, to understand the cycles of flood and drought that dictated life in the Pantanal. "The woman who understands nature's cycles is never alone," said the elder. "Your fertility is in your hands and wisdom, not just in your womb." Words that healed old wounds. On a hot afternoon, a boy arrived in a simple canoe. His arm was inflamed from a tucum thorn. Donna Jurema looked at Irasima. "Show what you've learned." With gentle but sure hands, Irasima cleaned the wound, applied a paste of macerated herbs, and bandaged the boy's arm with banana leaves. "Come back tomorrow," she instructed, surprising herself with the firmness in her own voice. When the boy left, Donna Jurema nodded. "You're ready to learn the greater secrets." That night, under the light of coconut oil lamps, the elder revealed, "There are women like you in many communities, rejected for not bearing children, but blessed with other gifts. We form a silent sisterhood. We heal bodies and souls." Irasima felt a warmth spread through her chest. Belonging. A week later, a young woman arrived in tears. She was pregnant, and the father of the child had abandoned her. "I don't want this child," she sobbed. Irasima felt Donna Jurema's gaze upon her. Was it a test? A moral challenge? She took a deep breath and said to the girl, "I will show you all the possibilities, and the choice will be yours. But know that no path is without pain." They spent the afternoon talking, and in the end the young woman left calmer, with herbs to strengthen her body, regardless of the decision she would make. "You didn't judge," observed Kawa, who was returning from fishing. "It's not my role," replied Irasima, surprising herself with the newly acquired wisdom. That night marked a change. For the first time, Kawa sat beside her to watch the sunset, shoulders almost touching. Pindar lay at their feet, creating a perfect circle of silent companionship. That's when Irasima noticed a deep scar on Kawa's forearm. Without thinking, she touched it gently. "My wife and daughter died in the Great Flood 5 years ago," he said, breaking the silence. "I couldn't save them. The community said it was punishment for some sin of mine." Irasima understood then. He too had been judged by what he couldn't do, not by what he offered. "Is that why you live apart?" He nodded. "And that's why you saved me." Another nod. That night something changed between them. It wasn't romance yet. It was mutual recognition of wounded souls beginning to heal. When the moon appeared, huge and silvery over the waters, Donna Jurema called Irasima outside. "The full moon has arrived. Your fever is completely gone. Now it's time for the choice." Irasima didn't understand immediately. "What choice?" The elder pointed to the path that led back to the city. "You can return to your old life, or you can accept the call of the Pantanal." Before she could answer, the noise of a motor in the distance broke the night's peace. Donna Jurema became tense. "Your brothers are coming back," she announced gravely. "And they don't come alone." The sound of the motor approached like a storm omen. Kawa immediately took his old shotgun, but Donna Jurema stopped him with a gesture. "It is not with violence that we will resolve this," said the elder, as she prepared a strong tea of bitter herbs. "Irasima needs to face her past to embrace her future." Pindar, sensing the tension, growled softly beside Irasima, who stroked his head to calm him. Inside her a whirlwind. Part of her wanted to flee into the interior of the Pantanal, hide where no one would find her. Another part, however, wanted to finally face those who had judged and abandoned her. "What should I do?" she asked Donna Jurema. The elder gave her a necklace made of seeds and caiman teeth, identical to the one Kawa wore. "Wear this. It's our symbol. It shows that you have been accepted by the Pantanal." Minutes later, the boat docked. Antonio and João disembarked, accompanied by the community's priest and 2 armed men. Irasima recognized one of them as her second ex-husband, Juvenal. "We've come to fetch my sister," announced Antonio in a loud voice as if speaking to savages. "She needs to return home and receive proper treatment." Kawa stepped forward, imposing in his silence, but Irasima restrained him with a gentle touch on his arm. "I'll speak with them," she said, surprising everyone with the firmness in her voice. She walked to the edge of the stilt house, Pindar at her side, the seed necklace gleaming in the moonlight. She was different, stronger, her skin golden from the sun, her long black hair now braided with colorful fibers from the Pantanal. "I am healed," she declared, "and I am where I chose to be." João advanced, irritated. "Don't be foolish, Irasima. These people are primitive. The priest has come to ensure you return to civilization and the church." The priest, a thin man with restless eyes, added, "Daughter, they say there is witchcraft in this place. You need to return to be purified." Donna Jurema smiled without hostility. "Father, the herbs that cure your night cough come from here. Is that witchcraft too?" The man blushed, disconcerted. Juvenal, the ex-husband, stepped forward. "I am willing to take you back, Irasima," he said with false generosity. "We can try again. Adopt a child, perhaps." Irasima felt her blood boil. This man who had humiliated her in front of the entire community for her infertility now pretended kindness. "Why did you come back for me?" she asked directly. "It's election time for the mayor," replied Kawa, breaking his silence. "Your brother Antonio is a candidate. How would he explain having abandoned his own sister?" Antonio's eyes flashed with anger, but he did not deny it. "You are shaming our family with these rumors." Irasima laughed, a sound that surprised even herself. "You left me to die, and now you speak of shame." Juvenal, impatient, drew a weapon. "Enough talk. You come with us, or these savages will suffer the consequences." That's when Pindar advanced, growling louder. He was no longer a clumsy cub, but a young predator defending his territory. The men backed away, frightened. "What demon is that?" shouted João. "It's a jaguar!" exclaimed the priest, making the sign of the cross. Kawa seized the moment to speak. "We have 3 days until the next trading caravan passes through here. If by then Irasima wants to leave, no one will stop her." But the decision will be hers. It was a deadline, an ultimatum disguised as a fair offer. The men, still intimidated by Pindar's presence, reluctantly agreed. "We'll return in 3 days," said Antonio. "And you will come with us, sister. It's your duty to the family." When they left, Irasema felt her legs weaken. Kawa supported her before she fell. "You were brave," he whispered. That night, Irasema couldn't sleep. The confrontation had brought up painful memories. The failed marriages, the frustrated attempts to get pregnant, the pitying looks, the malicious comments. "What should I do?" she asked Donna Jurema, who was preparing a calming tea. "Your heart already knows the answer," replied the elder. "But first you need to know the whole truth." The next morning, Donna Jurema took Irasema to a small island in the middle of the Pantanal. There, hidden among centennial trees, was a larger cabin. Inside, 6 women of varying ages worked with herbs, baskets, and looms. "This is our true home," explained the elder. "Everyone here was rejected by their communities, some for infertility, like you, others for widowhood, for not accepting forced marriages, for having knowledge that frightened men." One of the women approached. She had burn marks on her face but serene eyes. "I was a midwife," she recounted. "When I couldn't save the landowner's wife, I was accused of witchcraft and almost burned alive. Donna Jurema found me and brought me here." Another woman, young and beautiful, added, "I refused to marry the man chosen by my father. They left me on the road as punishment." One by one they told their stories, stories of rejection, judgment, and finally rebirth in the Pantanal. "We are the Sisterhood of Waters," explained Donna Jurema. "We heal, we teach, we preserve ancient knowledge, and sometimes, when necessary, we help other women find their way, whatever it may be." Irasema understood the dimension of what was being offered to her. It wasn't just a refuge, but a purpose, a new way of generating life through knowledge and healing. Upon returning to the stilt house, Kawa was waiting for them with fresh fish. As they prepared the meal together, he finally told his complete story. "My daughter was born during the flood. My wife did not survive the childbirth. When I returned to the community with only the child, they said it was my fault, that I should have insisted on going to the hospital in the city, even with the flooded roads." His voice failed. "The girl fell ill weeks later. Pneumonia. Without adequate medications." He couldn't finish. Irasema touched his hand. "And they blamed you for that too." He nodded. "Donna Jurema took me in when everyone turned their backs. She taught me that my guilt was not in failing to save my family, but in believing I could control the uncontrollable." That night was of revelations and deeper connections. Irasema understood why Kawa had saved her. He saw in her the same unjust abandonment he had suffered, and Kawa, in turn, began to see in Irasema not just someone to save, but someone with whom to share a new beginning. On the second day of the deadline, a desperate man arrived at the stilt house, carrying a baby with high fever. "The doctor in town is traveling," he explained through tears. "They said the healer of the Pantanal might help." Donna Jurema looked at Irasema. "Show what you've learned." With firm hands and an open heart, Irasema examined the baby, prepared herbal baths, made compresses. She worked all night, singing the healing songs she had learned. Kawa stayed by her side, bringing fresh water, lighting the fire when needed. Pindar kept silent guard at the door. When the sun rose, the fever had subsided. The baby smiled for the first time in days. The father, emotional, kissed Irasema's hands. "How can I thank you?" She touched the baby's little head. "Tell everyone that in the Pantanal there is healing." The man left with the healthy child, and Irasema felt a deep joy she had never experienced before. "You generated life today," said Donna Jurema. "Not from your womb, but from your hands and heart." On the eve of the brothers' return, Irasema had already made her decision. But one question still troubled her. "If I stay," she asked Kawa as they watched the sunset, "what will we be to each other?" He took her hand with delicacy. "Whatever we choose to be. Without expectations, without demands. Just 2 people who recognized in each other the chance to begin again." It was an honest answer, and for Irasema, more valuable than any grandiose promise. When her brother's boat docked again at the stilt house, Irasema awaited them, dressed in a simple cotton dress dyed with anato, the necklace of seeds and teeth gleaming on her neck. aromatic herbs braided in her hair. At her side, Kawam remained in vigilant silence, while Pindar stayed partially hidden in the shadows of the cabin. Donna Jurema had left at dawn to gather the Sisterhood of Waters, saying only, "When the decision is announced, we will be ready." Antonio was the first to disembark, followed by the priest and João. The absence of Juvenal and the armed men was notable, a sign that Iracema interpreted as potentially positive. "We come as family this time," announced Antonio, attempting a conciliatory tone. "The deadline is over, sister. It's time to return home." Iracema stepped forward, feeling the weight of the moment. All her previous life, the failed marriages, the pregnancy attempts, the humiliations, seemed to belong to another person now. "This is my home now," she declared in a firm yet serene voice. João advanced, irritated. "Don't be foolish. What will you do here? Live like a savage. And when Donna Jurema dies, when this man," he pointed to Kawam with contempt, "gets tired of you," the priest intervened. "Daughter, think of your soul. These pagan practices—" Iracema interrupted him with a gentle gesture. "Father, when you had malaria last year, who sent you the quinine medicine that saved you?" "It was Donna Jurema. Her knowledge served your faith, not against it." The man lowered his eyes, unable to argue. Antonio, realizing he was losing control of the situation, changed tactics. "Iracema, I'm running for mayor. How does it look with my own sister living like this? Think of the family." That's when the sound of oars cut through the silence. Several boats were approaching. In the simple vessels came women from the Sisterhood of Waters, but also people from the community. The man whose baby Iracema had saved, the boy with the injured arm accompanied by his mother, fishermen, bait collectors, entire families. Donna Jurema led the group, imposing despite her advanced age. "We've come to witness Iracema's choice," announced the elder, as the boats formed a semicircle around the stilt house. Antonio paled upon recognizing several voters among those present. João seemed about to explode with rage. "What does this mean?" Donna Jurema explained calmly. "It means your sister is not alone. She will never be again." The man with the baby stepped forward. "My son is alive thanks to Iracema. She has a gift." Others began to tell their stories of healing and help. Iracema felt her heart overflow. In these few weeks, she had touched more lives than in all her years in the city. "You see," she said to her brothers, "here I found my purpose. Here I can generate what you never knew how to see." Antonio, calculating as always, realized there was a political opportunity. "So too, you've become a kind of healer. This could be good for my campaign. A sister dedicated to the people." Iracema smiled, recognizing the maneuver. "I don't do this for you or your campaign, Antonio. I do it because it's my path." João, less diplomatic, exploded. "This is ridiculous. First you can't give children to any husband. Now you think you're a saint of the Pantanal." His words provoked indignant murmurs among those present. Kawa stepped forward, his erect posture emanating a quiet strength. "Respect your sister in our home." João advanced threateningly, but stopped upon hearing a low growl. Pindar had emerged from the shadows, displaying sharp teeth. He wouldn't attack, Iracema knew, but the message was clear. "Enough," intervened Donna Jurema. "The decision has been made. Iracema belongs to the Pantanal now. As the Pantanal to her." Antonio, always pragmatic, made one last attempt. "If this is your choice, at least allow me to announce that I support your work. It would be good for everyone." Iracema exchanged glances with Kawa and Donna Jurema. Then she turned to her brother. "You may tell the community that you respect my work and my choice, but never again say that you abandoned me for my own good. The truth must be preserved." It was a diplomatic agreement, but with firm conditions. Antonio nodded, defeated but trying to save face. João still tried to protest, but was silenced by a look from his older brother. The priest, surprisingly, made the sign of the cross toward Iracema. "May God protect you on your path, daughter. And perhaps we can exchange knowledge about medicinal plants someday." It was a small acknowledgement, an unexpected bridge. As the brothers' boat moved away, the gathered community celebrated. There was music from Viola da Cocho, shared food, stories exchanged until nightfall. The women of the sisterhood formally welcomed Iracema, giving her a red cloak woven with fibers from the Pantanal. "This is the symbol of full acceptance," explained Donna Jurema. "You are now one of us." When everyone had left and only the three, Iracema, Kawar and Pinda, remained in the stilt house under the starry sky, a comfortable silence settled. "What happens now?" asked Iracema, as she observed the reflection of the moon on the calm waters. Kawar, sitting beside her at the edge of the stilt house, feet dangling over the water, replied, "Now we live." Day after day, season after season, Pindar lay down between them, creating a physical connection between the two. Their hands met over the jaguar's soft fur. It wasn't a passionate, romantic gesture, but something deeper, the recognition of two souls who had found peace in each other's company. In the months that followed, Iracema's fame as a healer spread. People came from far away for consultations. She never charged but accepted exchanges, food, fabrics, tools. They built a larger cabin, closer to the Sisterhood's island. Antonio won the election, partly thanks to his family's new reputation. He kept his promise to respect his sister's work and occasionally sent medical supplies from the city. João never returned, but Iracema found peace with that too. With Donna Jurema's guidance, Iracema began to teach other women. Some came just to learn about herbs. Others, rejected by their communities, found permanent refuge. The sisterhood grew. Kawar expanded his fishing and construction skills, creating safer structures for the healing work. They never defined their relationship with limiting words like husband or wife, but built something equally sacred, a partnership based on mutual respect and shared purpose. Pinda grew strong and healthy, remaining surprisingly docile with those who came in peace, but always vigilant. He became a symbol of the sisterhood itself, wild but gentle, strong but compassionate. In the Pantanal, where they had abandoned her to die, Iracema planted a garden of medicinal herbs. It was her way of transforming a place of rejection into a source of healing. "I am not infertile," she would say to women who arrived with the same pain that had once consumed her. "I just generate in different ways." One afternoon, while collecting guaco leaves, Iracema saw a young woman approaching. She carried a baby in her arms and wore a desperate expression. "I was told that you help women in need," she said, trembling. "My husband expelled me because the baby was born with a mark on his face. He said it's not his child." Iracema looked at the child, a healthy boy with a wine-colored birthmark on his face. She remembered her own rejection, the pain of abandonment. "You are safe now," she said, wrapping mother and child with the red cloak. The Pantanal embraces those who have been rejected. That night, Kawar found Iracema contemplating the stars. "Thinking about the past?" he asked, sitting beside her. She shook her head. "Thinking about how rejection can lead us to the place where we should have always been." He nodded, understanding perfectly. In the heart of the Pantanal, among waters that gave and took life, Iracema had found not just healing but purpose. She was no longer the woman defined by what she could not give, but by the abundance she offered. The red cloak that had embraced her that first night was never removed, not because she was fragile, but because it had become part of her. And there, among exiles who formed their own family, a new woman was born, complete. If you were moved by Iracema's journey in the Pantanal, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. Leave your like to strengthen our community of storytellers, and share in the comments which moment of this narrative